Ric Bucher joining the herd now, Fox Sports NBA analyst, covering the league since 1993.
Yeah,
wow.
How about that?
Seen some really good players on the ball.
I love that that's how you're introduced every single time. They give how long you've been covering the league.
Pretty much.
It's
Should we
probably
drop
my
that?
favorite.
It's in the notes
My
here.
favorite stat.
Long
time.
Alex, have you noticed, though, that J-Mac goes to the other seat, and now he's all buttoned up?
I know.
Yeah, I don't have the
Hot
shirt
button.
open.
He's not the eye candy he was over here?
Oh, there you go. He just got an extra button. Oh, it's great.
Kind of a slow night in the NBA last night, Rick. The Warriors, who can't win on the road, get smashed in Memphis, give up 48 in the first quarter. I think it was the worst quarter ever in the regular season Kerr's had. I don't know what the bigger story is, the Warriors' inability to win on the road or Memphis without Ja Morant.
Well, considering they're the defending champions, and we don't know exactly what's happening with Ja. I would say the Warriors simply because the Memphis Grizzlies story and the Ja Morant story, for me, goes beyond basketball. The Warriors, it's pretty simple. Everybody's like, we can't figure out why they can't win on the road. If you've been in the Chase Center and you look at their roster, it's very easy for me to explain why they win at home far more than they do on the road. And that's because when Steph hits a three or Jordan Poole hits a three, the crowd goes absolutely bonkers. And they infuse this idea that, oh, yeah, we're the Warriors. Not just with the crowd, but with Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb and that whole young crew buys into, oh, here we go. I've seen this on TV. Like, I know what happens next when Steph hits one of those big threes. We go on a run. When you're on the road, you don't get any of that. You don't get any of that. And particularly because they are so fragile defensively, you need guys playing at a very high level, and you need that push that the Chase Center gives. Because I've countless times they get on a run and teams hear that crowd and they try to speed up and play at the Warriors' pace and play the same way. And that just becomes a disaster because they're not going to be able to compete with the Warriors at their pace in their building.
Before we get to Ja, what did you make of Dillon Brooks versus Draymond Green and then Dillon Brooks versus Steph Curry?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Draymond Green smushed him and did not get a technical. Am I correct on that?
The league loves Draymond.
It was unbelievable. He's like literally putting his elbow and smushing his face, and nothing is called. That was extraordinary to me. But you're right. Draymond has created, and I've seen other players who have done this. Like they chew so much that you just give them an allowance that you're not necessarily giving anybody else. So, who won? Dillon Brooks won last night.
Yeah.
Because the Memphis Grizzlies won. And this is where Draymond said, like, I don't get baited into getting techs. But he got baited into lighting Dillon Brooks' fire before the game. And the Warriors are not in a place right now where they can add fuel to the other team's tanks. So Draymond is right. He didn't bite in the game, but he bit going into the game. And ultimately, the way Dillon Brooks played and when the way the Memphis Grizzlies did, that I would say that played a lot into the result.
Yeah, like the best thing you can say about the Warriors right now is they're really good at podcasting. Like they're nothing else good is going on with the Warriors except Draymond popping off online. But I do need to ask a little bit of a serious question. This Ja Morant situation.
Yeah.
He's away from the team. They went from 2 games. Now they're going to 4 games. Taylor Jenkins makes it sound like it's 1 week at a time.
Yep.
Obviously, they can't do any damage in the playoffs without him.
Yep.
What's kind of his future? Like, this is a small market team. It's a delicate balance with a big time star.
It is, but I believe that in part their fear of upsetting Ja to this point, and I've been around that team enough to know that for as detailed as Taylor Jenkins is and as demanding as he is on the court, the off the court structure and responsibility is not there for a team that lacks the veterans to lead the way in the locker room. And that needs to change because working out of fear that you're going to run off a superstar player because you're a small market ultimately is going to undermine your team and result in this, which is that you're okay. So you didn't run him off, but you didn't hold him accountable off the court, and as a result, he's missing anyway. But to me, this really, where the Grizzlies go this season is secondary to Ja taking care of his problems and his issues. And when Taylor Jenkins says 1 week at a time, it makes me think of the recovery when they say it's 1 day at a time. I really think that's where Ja is, and getting him right and resolving whatever that's led to the behavior that we've seen over the last couple months, to me, is more important than anything else. And I hope it works out and I'm sure that the NBA wants it to work out too, because Ja is on that very short list of players who have the potential to be the next legion of superstars.
Yeah. Let's go to the Phoenix Suns, Cowherd's team. He loves the fit of Kevin Durant.
Still?
I mean, Kevin Durant gets hurt in a layup line now, Rick. We had a stat earlier. He has missed more games in the last 4 years than Kawhi and Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of that is he missed an entire season, but nevertheless, we're looking at Kevin Durant heading into the playoffs, assuming he doesn't play again in the regular season.
Yeah.
He'll have played 3 games in 3 months.
Yeah.
And he's going to head into the playoffs where you play every other day.
Yeah, no, and the idea that simply because he came in and he did well in those 3 games, and now we're going to go to the postseason, and he's not going to get back to the postseason, but he'll be fine. He's the best plug and play player we have. Really, that's where we are in, I think, as fandom and as media. And if anybody wonders why players don't take the regular season seriously. Fans don't seem to take the regular season seriously. This idea that KD can just come back and things will be normal and you can just put a team together at the last second. There's a reason why teams generally don't make big moves at the trade deadline, because you only have 20-some games to figure it all out. And while you might get that piece and suddenly be good for the stretch run, or it might get you to the playoffs, to your point, 7-game series, when you have an opponent, when you're playing against the best of the best, and they have all day and every day to focus in on what your weaknesses are and what your vulnerabilities are and what you don't do well, it's an entirely different thing. And then just the grind. Giannis Antetokounmpo isn't making this up. You build those habits all through the course of the year. You build up your endurance so that when you get to the playoffs, you can lean on that. You're comfortable playing when it's difficult, and you're comfortable playing when you're dog tired. If you haven't done that all year, and now suddenly your playoff hopes ride on you picking it up here in OT in Game 7, and you haven't done that all year, your team hasn't done that all year, where does that confidence come from that you're going to get it done?
Yeah. The whole flip the switch thing. So the other thing I got to ask you, Rick, we just said the Grizzlies might be without Ja.
Yeah.
Suns, Kevin Durant, we don't know.
Yeah.
Warriors can't win on the road.
Well, I know
We're knocking down a lot of teams in the
know.
West. I'm not going to the Lakers. I'm not.
Yeah.
Sacramento Kings, Denver Nuggets. Are we going to see like a shocking team out of the West to the finals this year? We haven't even mentioned the paper clips.
That's what makes this so fascinating, is because the best teams in the Western Conference right now are the teams that have the most scant postseason resumes. Denver Nuggets, okay, they went to the conference finals in the bubble. Other than that, what have they been? Nothing special. Sacramento Kings haven't been there in decades, right? Memphis Grizzlies haven't been past the second round. And now we're talking potentially without Ja. So this is what's going to be really interesting is you have these physically compromised, experienced teams that are going to probably be the lower seeds playing these inexperienced teams that are going to have home court advantage. And I wish I could tell you what I think is going to win out. Generally, experience and basketball IQ win out. So I would not be surprised if we have a multitude of upsets in this playoff round.
Which dovetails nicely to my list from earlier. The players under the most pressure in these playoffs.
Yeah.
I got Jokić, number one.
Oh.
I know Cowherd doesn't like to talk about him, but Rick, let's be real. Third straight MVP is coming.
Yeah.
And at some point, you got to deliver in the postseason.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just going to look at this guy. Hey, stop telling me about the triple doubles and the passing and the MVPs. Just win a damn playoff series.
This is my issue with that, and I think you're 1,000%. Like,
or who would you have?
KD going down, the Warriors not being able to win on the road. Every one of these things just takes the meter higher, the pressure meter higher on Jokić. This is the distinction I make: is that the pressure comes out of what? Because he's being voted MVP.
Yeah.
What's he supposed to do? Did he ask to be MVP? Has he said, I am the MVP? Like, there's certain guys are like, they kind of carry that. Like, hey, KD will advertise himself. Kyrie Irving will advertise himself. Nikola Jokić hasn't advertised himself. And I just talked to Bones Highland, traded to the Clippers.
Yeah.
He's like, Jokić really doesn't care about the accolades. He doesn't. If he got 10, 5, and 3, and it's a win, he's good. So, yes, you're right. The pressure is ratcheting up, and I'd probably, at this point, put him at the top of my list.
Oh, nice.
But we've created that pressure. Well, he hasn't. It's not like he's asked for it. We've put it upon him, and I think that's a little bit different.
The Nuggets also are pushing him for MVP. They really want him to get the award.
What are you going to do?
I know. They got to push their guy. I get it.
Yeah.
But, okay, so I had Durant second. Agree, disagree? Because what happens, also, Chris Paul being on the Suns, being a fossil, being a non-factor last year, like, if they don't progress to the finals, you got to think Chris Paul's probably going elsewhere. Are they going to bring him back at like 39?
Well, not only that, but his contract there's only a small percentage of it is guaranteed. So they have the ability to move off of him, and I would expect there's a good chance they would if they can make a deal.
Yeah.
I had Kyrie Irving at the top of my list a couple weeks ago because I saw the potential for the Dallas Mavericks, who were in the 5th or 6th seed at the time, sliding into the play-in. And all the hoopla around getting Kyrie, and they were supposed to be better, and this is the piece that Luke has been waiting for. If he doesn't make them better, and he's looking, this is why I put him at the top of my list. He's looking at free agency. He's looking at, he wants a max contract. You're going to have any better chance of getting that if you're not taking, if the Dallas goes backward with you, what's the chance that you're going to get anything close to a max contract?
No shot.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.